morning and welcome to the Workforce Observer. We are so pleased to have with us today Jeff Sweitzer. He is a global practice leader, extended workforce at Talent Tech Labs. Talent Tech Labs is an independent research and advisory firm focused exclusively on talent technology. Welcome, Jeff. We are very happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk about the talent acquisition. Let's talk about talent acquisition technology. And what I'm looking for is the landscape, just a high-level, view.
Yes, so coming into Talent Tech Labs, it certainly is what we do in the space, and there is a lot going on in the talent acquisition, especially in the extended workforce space, which I specialize in. So when we talk about extended workforce, we're talking about contract type labor, contingent workforce, freelance economy, gig economy, et cetera, right? So that's what we're really focusing on for this conversation around the technology and what's going on in the TA space. So with that in mind, there certainly is a lot going on in the talent acquisition space. It's very crowded. It's highly competitive, as are most fields. But with the entries, a lot of newer entries and new up-and-coming startups have come into this field, either with the use of AI or benefiting from the usage of AI, or just seeing gaps or needs within the space. There are a lot of new incoming tech now competing with a lot of the incumbent technologies that have been around, many of which have been around for 20 plus years. So we are seeing a convergence of the old and the new coming together and competing for space and finding where there are true needs in the space to satisfy clients' needs in the talent acquisition ecosystem.
And this sounds like, I don't want to oversimplify, but basically when we say talent acquisition technology, we're talking about tools that would help companies, recruiters, platform get the talent in.
Yes, that's correct. And a lot of the more, popular areas, right, would be vendor management system, VMSs. So like your Fieldglasses, Beelines, new and upcoming ones like FlexTrack and Venly, right, are new emergence to the market. So VMS technologies, you've got a open competition within the direct sourcing category. So direct sourcing is a big talk topic with clients now. It has been for the better part of a decade, but those conversations are coming back around again as clients look to make total talent management instead of just being a theory, the art of what's possible, right? And being able to capture all this information. And then also another emerging space in the talent acquisition is freelance management tools. So those tools out there that help manage bringing in a gig worker or a freelance worker are also popping up in the space and at least being heavily more requested, viewed, and going through RFPs at client sites. The clients are seeing more adoption in not only the VMS space, but direct sourcing space and freelance management.
Thank you. So when you say extended workforce, the people you advise would be the end users of staffing, the buyers, or do you advise others as well?
That's a good question. No, across the board, right? So certainly work with clients, right, first and foremost. So from a client perspective, as clients are looking at, certainly they're focusing their attention over the years have been on the FTE side of the house, but now there's a movement for total talent management, right? And knowing where all of the people that come to your company or work on your site or log on to a PC or an asset, you know where they're at, who they are, and what they're doing. That has been not being captured for many, many years. And now clients are moving towards that space. So where I specialize in now, along with Talent Tech Labs, is being able to talk to clients about augmenting your visibility that you currently have with FTE and augmenting that through technology, reporting, optimization techniques, et cetera, to be able to see your external workforce as well and be able to essentially report out on not only your FTE landscape and your employees, but also your non-employees, right? And being able to have that whole talent globally on where your people are at and how much it's costing you.
So when you say clients, and we talk about buyers, right? The end users of staffing. Your customers are the big companies only, or do you also have now the mid-size and smaller? Give me like an overview.
Yeah, across the board, right? So from a client perspective, right? I mean, certainly larger clients are there, but we work with anyone in the Fortune 5,000. So it can be anywhere from 5 million to over 1 billion.
Okay.
And a lot of times when we talk to clients too, it's not about the size of the client, right, as far as their net revenues or profits. It's really
Sure.
about the size of their contingent labor or their spend or how much they're spending in that particular market really
Yep.
determines whether a client is large or not.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So let's switch a little bit to the provider. Right? What challenges are providers in this space facing, and how are they evolving to meet the needs of the market? How has AI impacted this? And I know
Yeah.
it's a lot, so take your time.
In the space, certainly what we're seeing are incumbents that have been around for 20 plus years, and then the newer entries that are coming in on the latest platforms. There's a big differentiator that happened in 2017 where a lot of the technologies were able to fully take in place and embrace the newest cloud platforms and technology and actually build a cloud solution from the ground up, right? So if companies are talking about, well, we started in 2017 or we decided to start creating or our build was 100% cloud-based solution, certainly within the market, they're bringing a different level of speed and efficiencies to the market. But also, with them being startups or smaller companies, they may not have all the robust features as, say, some of the incumbents that have been around for 20 plus years that have 200 or 300 clients to be able to leverage from and have a full set of features. And not on top of that, but is that globally, right? We're seeing that certainly is an expansion or need to go global. And where these challengers are versus the incumbents is really a balance that these vendors have between working out their ecosystem and finding a region that they are fit for versus trying to expand globally where some of these incumbents have had 20 years to grow naturally and be in 200 countries and ready to go for a client.
So, this is a two-parter actually. If I was a buyer in the space, how should I be proceeding? How are you advising your clients to even think about the technology?
Yes. So Talent Tech Labs, certainly you may be familiar with Talent Tech Labs and our ecosystem reports that we release. You see them, we release every April, and we released one this April on the talent acquisition landscape. That report is, we call it the bubble report, and has hundreds of different tech companies on it. As we go through the process, it's getting more and more challenging every year to identify those that stay on the bubble or we add to the bubble as opposed to those that get removed from the bubble. It used to be a lot more, let's say, static back in the day, but nowadays it's becoming more of a challenge as more and more entries are available to really determine. So from a Talent Tech Labs perspective, we certainly at least take the first cut, right? If there's 30 potential vendors out there in a particular area of expertise, we certainly, through our knowledge and talking to, trying to identify 10 or 15 that really would work well from our perspective. Now, it doesn't mean that the other 15 are not usable or acceptable, but at some point we do a little bit of a filter situation to be able to at least have a starting point for most clients. Outside that starting point for the clients, certainly then as Talent Tech Labs, we go deeper, as deep down to a vendor bake-off where we may decide between one vendor or another if that's what the client wants. But we offer a full service from everything from taking a particular ecosystem and narrowing it down to the best couple entries for a client.
So if I was a provider, what do I have to do to make the cutoff? Name top three things.
Yeah, so
I'm just curious.
I've been getting a lot of phone calls on that there recently with my new role on the Talent Tech Labs.
Sure.
Yes, so certainly from if you're an interested new partner that wants to be participant and be on the ecosystem report, certainly it starts with a phone call or an email out to myself, right? And certainly we'll publish the contact information. But basically a vendor would reach out to me, have a conversation about what their service offering is, what their product looks like. And then if we want, we schedule a demo and we go through an intake session. I have a ton of questions that I ask and really build out a service profile, a vendor profile on that particular vendor. So we have something behind the scenes as well as on that report. And if we feel that is a good match for what TTL and our clients are looking for, then we will add them to the bubble. If not, it'll be a demo. It's good knowledge for myself to have, and we'll still have a service provider resume, a unique resume or a profile on yourself that we will have behind the scenes for our clients to be able to access and read about on your potential service offerings.
I get that, but what is the criteria you look at?
from a criteria perspective. So certainly
The top
one is,
criteria. I mean, you don't have to get into detail. I know this is some of it is confidential, but really, to make the cutoff, what do I, as a provider, would need to have besides revenue? I'm assuming you need revenue.
well, revenue is certainly one thing, but there certainly are startups, right, that don't have revenue,
Yep.
but maybe have
Yep.
an
So,
interesting technology proposition, right? So,
okay.
there really isn't a true defined metric as far as what good looks like. It's really
Right.
being able to properly express your product, having a product
Okay.
that you're able to demo that is showing well in the space from a
Okay.
UX perspective,
Okay.
and whether or not you're making money is not a question, right? Because what kind of value or niche are you bringing to the service? That really would
Right.
be the biggest differentiator to making the report. If you are offering something unique that the other 20 providers currently on a report don't offer today, right? So that is your best
Got it.
way to be able to get on the Talent Tech Labs ecosystem report.
Kind of what is a unique differentiator?
Yes.
That's what you're looking at, not just differentiator, unique. Okay.
Correct.
Wonderful. What trick strategy do you suggest for your clients in this environment? I'm just curious. I mean, like, gosh, it seems so hard.
Yes, it certainly is overwhelming out there in the space today, and knowing as someone like myself and our team that spends their whole time in this space, I mean, we are busy, right? So imagine a client that has a regular day job trying to dip their
Right.
toes into this, or saying, hey, I need to
Yep.
look at a VMS offering or potential dip and look into direct sourcing possibilities. So, with that, right, there certainly is a lot more that goes into than just a Google search, right, to find up for your list of officer. So certainly with Talent Tech
Sure.
Labs, we offer our, acquisition report. That's a great way to start, at least from a bubble perspective. You can look up your individual ones. But I would say for a tale of caution to a client is while you're getting demos, certainly they're putting their best foot forward, right? And you
Right.
are only seeing what they are showing you, and then really being able to truly understand and ask the right questions of what it is that you really want rather than what they're trying to show you or sell you is really key on trying to get the most out of what you want from a potential vendor.
Got it. So, let's take a step back. What are you seeing the trends in an employer's market, right? It is. What are you seeing with the extended workforce?
Okay, so certainly, first off, right, from a client perspective, for the extended workforce, it really starts with the vendor management system or the VMS, right? Adoption of that VMS used to be a question, should I or shouldn't I? Nowadays, it's table stakes, right? So from a client perspective, you want a vendor management system or a tool to be able to track all your extended workforce people, right? This includes creating a job description, creating a candidate profile, having your vetted supplier list, having your hiring processes and approval flows for approval for hires properly documented and fully compliant. So these VMS solutions are now table stakes. As clients are bringing those in, 85% currently have a VMS. Those 15% out there may be smaller or maybe using homegrown tools to be able to manage, but certainly setting up that VMS is critical to really be able to truly document your overall, capture your extended workforce needs. Once you have that VMS now, which is now just table stakes, right? You have to be able to make sure that you have a proper strategy from an extended workforce perspective. And it really ties into your overall total talent strategy that clients are really talking about today, and you see a lot on the web. So as clients work on their FTE strategy, their extended workforce strategy, they now have a place to capture it. But now as you look at where you're capturing it, where your potential gaps are, what else is out there that you may need to help augment that VMS, right? Because we know that in the extended workforce labor, it used to be very supplier driven, while it still is the predominant way of getting your workers. The gig economy now is out there, right? And so you certainly can hire through either direct sourcing, navigating through your existing talent pool, or going out to something like an Upwork or a Graphite, et cetera, to be able to go out and attract freelance management solutions. So now, you're not only looking at a VMS solution, but now you're looking at having a direct sourcing solution, an FMS solution. Potentially, you want an assessment tool to be able to help, determine, right, and test these particular people and candidates prior to them coming on site. So now you have all these options. And what managers are now facing with, right, is where I want to hire. The manager's first question is all right, I want to hire someone. where do they go, right? Do they go to their FTE solution? Do they go to their VMS? Do they go to their gig, their freelance? What makes sense, right? And maybe it's an
Right.
SOW and maybe they need an IC contractor. So
Right.
really with clients being able to work on, one of the movements is really identifying that front end solution, right? So managers can go and say, I need X, and you get asked a lot of questions, which will help a manager determine if they need a contingent worker or potentially a full-time employee. Once that is decided, then now clients are working on being able to direct that manager to be able to go to those proper systems. And I will say that.
So sorry, one question to clarify. So do you actually work with the managers to decide, hey, these are the tools that you need, these are things that you don't need, or do they work it out and then come to you?
Certainly, as part of the process, right? Part of the intake, I talk to managers and certainly the clients. So usually it's a TA team or the HR team that is speaking on behalf of the managers. But
Got it.
usually during the course of any type of deep dive, while we're talking about potential vendors and what's right for the client,
Right.
certainly we get a couple of manager power users to come in and explain what they go through on a daily basis, right? And learn
Got
about
it.
their pain points and what they are going through. And knowing what the managers go through on a daily basis is very enlightening to be able to talk to the overall client about what solutions might be the right fit for what they're trying to do. As we know, not always does the management side of the house align with what the end manager is trying to do, right? And
Right.
so having both sides of that, because you certainly want your corporate policies and enforcement, but you also want the managers to be happy to be able to use these tools and go in and find the right worker for the right job.
Right. Sure. That makes sense. Educating the ecosystem on tech trends, both suppliers as well as, when I say suppliers, I mean the providers, as well as the end users, your clients. What are your recommendations? How do you do it today? Because you're talking to both sides, right? I mean,
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
so what
yeah.
do you recommend?
Well, so from a tech strategy, right? So certainly a lot of it depends on whether you're a smaller client, right? Or if you're a bigger client, right? And determines on how much leeway you might have on what those solutions may look like. What is trending out here in the space is currently right now for clients, it's about 50-50 for those that use a suite of services type product versus those that build best of breed. And what I mean by that is that the suite of services would be like your SAP type shops, right? Where you have a SAP ERP, maybe you use SuccessFactors for your HR management, and then you'd use a Fieldglass for your VMS solution, right? And so it would all be tied up, integrated under one SAP contract technology, all in one solution. Workday also is offering a bundled service that includes the Venly product, which incorporates the extended workforce. So a lot of these bigger all-in-one suites are moving towards a total talent management and acquiring companies to effectively be able to manage not only your FTEs, but your extended workforce.
Got it. So what do you recommend to the buyer on educating themselves? There is a process, and yes, you help with them, but how do you keep up? What do you say? I mean,
it certainly is tough. One of the first things I say, right, is certainly when we talk, and usually we talk to leaders in the HR talent acquisition space or on the HR side of the house, right? And it really is 50-50, and what we are seeing now with clients is more of a blending, because usually TA was all about extended workforce, HR all about FTE, and the two sides would never talk to one another. Well, that is changing, right? Because now we want that total visibility, we want that fully integrated concept. So now we are seeing, right, where the HR and TAs work together. In those cases, and usually something that I check for right away when I meet with a client is have they spoken to their executives, right, their C-suite, their CIO, making sure that what the roadmap looks like for that company going forward matches what they want to desire before they go out to any RFP. I've been a part of many conversations and even been to some where I've gotten a call late in the game, but they have gone all the way through an RFP process, went all the way through to make a vendor selection, and then found out that from an overall tech strategy perspective for their overall client business, that wasn't the strategy that the CIO and teams wanted to go with, right? So,
Right,
so
right,
making sure that you have an understanding, while there are some great best of breed solutions out there,
right.
making sure that it's okay to actually go one off a solution off the shelf, as opposed to having to be tied into one of those technology suite of services. And there's arguments on all sides on what's best, and there really isn't an answer as to which one's best. The only question is which one is best for you, and then that
Right.
it will determine right what comes out of it.
So it's not enough just to know what is out there. You also have to know your company, your C-suite, the path where they're going on, what they're deciding to do, and being in tune with it, so that you can, as a HR person or a TA person, can make recommendations. Ah, got
Absolutely,
it.
yeah, and be
Yeah.
well
Okay.
informed. It's not enough just to look at the potential technologies, because that be overwhelming in itself, but
Right.
understand your
Right.
overall C-suite roadmap mentality or strategy, and then
Right.
certainly then using that to help then work with potentially other outside clients and consultants to be able
Right.
to determine, what is optimal for your situation.
What do you see as the future of talent acquisition technology?
Well, right now, McKinsey stating that, as we talked about the suite versus best of breed, McKinsey stating that by 2030, 8% of all large companies, meaning those in the Fortune 1000, will be leaning towards a suite of services mentality. If today it's around 50-50, that if 30% of all major organizations are going to that suite of services, i.e. a Salesforce type shop, SAP, Workday, then that is only going to make a change to the landscape as far as all those different partners and technologies that potentially could be on the outside looking in. Now, not saying that you have to be owned by one of these potentially suites to be, to access a particular client, but what is moving forward is that you really can't be just a standalone product on yourself. You need to have the right partnerships in place. You need to have those potential out of the box, or at least designed integrations with your APIs to be able to speak to those back end systems when the clients come looking. So there is a movement right now within the industry to kind of team up, pair up, or even outright sell right to a potential bidder, as far as those partnerships, and being able to offer not only your solution, but then being able to sell how your solution ties into the bigger picture is critical and able to potentially win more business.
So, in this regard, given what you've just said, what is the recommendation that you really make to your providers, the partners? Like, hey, just, I mean, I know you're not advising them the same way, but still, you're talking to them, you're
Yeah.
doing intakes.
Yeah.
What do you tell them?
Well, that's part of the conversation, right? When I do an intake session, right? Who are you
Yeah.
currently partnering with? Who does your roadmap look like? What does your
Yeah.
roadmap look like? And then certainly, some discussion, right, at a high level on where things are trending in the space. So, I certainly do have those conversations with them.
Yep.
The
And
key
what is
part,
your
right, is
advice
really, yeah,
to
it's
them?
really advising on the types of potential integrations that clients are looking for, right? A lot of people say they have open APIs, which is great, but you really need those defined solutions that clients are looking for, that are ready to go, and not have to be bespoke, custom developed solutions, after the fact.
Great. Disruption. What do you think about it? Where do you see it happening in our industry? We are almost there, 2025.
Yeah, yeah. Well, certainly, there's been a lot of talk, and we've gotten this far in the conversation without mentioning artificial intelligence, right?
Yes.
But that certainly is a big part of the extended workforce, and what we're seeing now in the space, right? And certainly the trends that is happening today. Currently, about 25% by 2025. We're going to see 75% and greater adoption, but is using AI in your hiring process to be able to go out and find those candidates. So that includes creating that job description, whether it's AI enabled or not. Certainly there are some benefits of being able to create a quick and easy job description using artificial intelligence, but that might fly in the face of what your culture aspects are, your HR protocols, and making sure that you have all the details you need for that specific job, as opposed to what a generative AI tool may determine the job should look like, right? If you have an average job description, you're going to get average candidates, right? So
Okay.
while AI is great for creating that initial baseline job description, what does that really mean in the big picture going forward, and making sure you have your culture attachments, your specifics, and your details to get the right candidate for the right job? What we're seeing also is disruption in the space. Not only as this job goes out the door, but now as candidates are now using, as you've seen, that they're using artificial intelligence to be able to then take that job description that was created by AI, create an AI-driven resume that matches that job, and then submit it right back to the platform. What we're seeing now in the space is that, according, we've seen one company such as Accenture, they were averaging about 2 million resumes a year. They are now over 4 million resumes as of December 1st in this given year. So a number of applicants have doubled. And that's because of the AI generation of resumes, the AI generation of bots to be able to post those resumes. You're getting a massive amount of candidates now that really, if they use the tools, match that job almost perfectly, right? So now it's to come down to, as a disruption in the space, is determining, right, how that job and that candidate, both of which have been AI or added in with the artificial intelligence, are matching up in the workforce. And are those candidates actually getting those jobs better than they were before? So that's something that we're looking to see trending in 2025, and there'll be a lot to come out of this as more research and more data comes out as far as where this will lie in the space as far as being able to apply for jobs, create jobs, and apply for jobs in the AI world going forward.
Is there something that you're betting on but not sharing? You're thinking, oh my God, yes, this is going to happen.
We're
Tell us.
just to say we're doing some research on it right now. So I'm hesitant to produce some numbers, but that would certainly be something that we will be more abreast of come 2025. It's a project that is near and dear to my heart, and we are working on it right now to determine the impacts of AI in the hiring process for the extended workforce.
That would be really cool. It's a big project. When do you expect to have this report ready?
Within the next 2 months here, we've got something coming up in Q1, and my expectation is that I will have something available for that in a published report that will be available to our clients, in early Q1.
We should talk again after that to see, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
All right. Any advice that you have for the ecosystem? Maybe first for your clientele and then for the providers.
Yeah, for the clients. Yeah, it certainly is, as mentioned, overwhelming out there. Starting with a Google search on what is the best direct sourcing tools is not a great way to start, right? So identify your needs. Make sure that you're in lockstep with leadership and your leadership sponsors, that you have the ability, right, to go out to market to potentially find a product that fits into that overall client strategy. And then certainly, obviously, biased, but 100% back this up as true because I used to implement these solutions, is that you should try and work with a trusted advisor that maybe knows some things that you will not see in a demo, right? Or be able to at least direct you to, instead of 20, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 that actually might work as a good starting point and take it from there. So that would be my recommendation out the door for existing clients.
Okay. Anything before we close is 2025. What do you suggest? Like, how do you gear up for 2025? I mean, it's there. It's on our doorstep, Yeah,
it's right on the doorstep, right? We're already all planning and heads down for our new budgets for 2025 and what that roadmap for 2025 looks like. So leaving some room, right? You might have spent a good amount of time to be able to create that strategy if you do have one. But as things are developing and changing so quickly out there, and technologies either come and go or technologies come up and get acquired, right? What does that impact look like to your overall strategy? So having some flexibility in your overall search, right, for the optimal total talent solution would be critical, right? And don't get pigeonholed or have just your focus visioned on this is the right VMS, this is my one direct sourcing tool, this is one FMS tool, making sure that you look at the each area holistically and then narrowing it down and make sure you have that best of breed solution that you are looking for.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the insights, and, have a great rest of the year. Thank you.
You too.